Hi, my name's Daryl. Now I'm the owner of this beautiful 2021 RAV4 Prime that you see behind me, and I do a whole lot of YouTube content about my RAV4 Prime. But something I haven't really talked about is how to get the best price on a used RAV4 Prime. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. Now, when I bought my RAV4 Prime 2.5 years ago, I actually had to go all the way to Connecticut to get it. Partially because I really wanted to get it for MSRP, and also because they didn't sell RAV4 Primes in all of the states. And that is actually still the situation today. But if you buy a used RAV4 Prime, you're actually going to have a lot more selection, and hopefully you can buy it a little closer to you and also get it for a little bit less price. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you really need to figure out is what trim level that you want to get for your used RAV4 Prime. And there's really four trims. You've got the base SE trim, you've got the SC with moonroof and cold weather package, you have the XSE, and then you have the XSE with the premium package. Now, they didn't really sell that many base SEs. Primarily, they sold those in the Mid-Atlantic or the North Atlantic states, so like New England, Maine, Massachusetts, states like that. And so there's not a whole lot of availability of those. The one reason that you might want to look at the base SE trim is because you don't have a moonroof and you actually get about probably 6 inches of additional headroom. And so if you're somebody that has a really long torso, you might really want to look for that SE base package. So the SE with moonroof and cold weather package is basically how it sounds. You get a moonroof and you also get the cold weather package, which includes, I think you get heated seats and you also get a heated steering wheel. And so, yeah, it's good, but you do lose a little bit of headroom with that moonroof. Then you have the XSE and the XSE with premium package. Now I have the XSE with premium package on mine and I really love it. I think if you are getting an XSE, you probably owe it to yourself to actually get the premium package. I think with the XSE you get the two-tone colored roof, so you get a black roof. You get larger wheels, so you get 19-inch wheels instead of 18-inch wheels. You also get an upgraded stereo, and you also get Softex trim seats. But with the XSE with premium package, you really get so much more. So my favorite feature that we really couldn't live without is the 1500-watt inverter, which is basically an electrical outlet that you can use when camping. And that's awesome. You also get a digital rearview mirror. You get 2-position seat memory and ventilated seats. And you also get the 6.6 kilowatt charger. And so you can charge up faster. But really, we just plug ours into our regular household outlet, and that works fine for us. Now, in regards to mileage requirements, of course, you want to get a low mileage car, but Toyotas have that legendary reliability, and our RAV4 Prime has been so reliable, and so I wouldn't put as much emphasis on that. But some of the benefits, if you do get it under 3 years or under 36,000 miles and under 3 years, then you could actually extend the warranty on the vehicle, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But if you don't get that, you could also look for a certified pre-owned Toyota that could also give you like a 7-year, 100,000-mile drivetrain warranty. And so if that does concern you, then you could also look at that. And the last thing that you want to look at is the color of your Prime. I really like all the colors of the Prime. I think they all look terrific. We've actually got the gray on ours, and I think it looks really great. But whatever color you pick, you're going to be, I'm sure, pretty happy with it. Now, the next thing that you should look at is how much you want to pay for your RAV4 Prime. Now, I looked at the 2021 and 2022, and I used Kelley Blue Book basically to come up with, kind of the estimated value of the vehicle. And I actually took the low book value of it, and that's what I think you should look for. There's kind of a high book and a low book, and for me personally, I want to get the lowest price that I can get, so I would recommend you try to get that low book value. So you can see right there that you're only actually paying on a used car, the difference between the XSE and the XSE with premium package is only $1,000 more. And that's going to be the best $1,000 that you're going to spend. Now, basically for 2022, I looked at the same book value. Now, the amount of mileage on the odometer for a normal 2022 was 30,000 miles. And basically what you could expect to pay for a 2022 as opposed to a 2021 is about $3,000 more over what you would pay for a 2021. And so I put those values on the screen. So make sure you take a screenshot of that or print it or whatever, so that you can have that with you as you start your research. Now, you're probably not going to see, unless it's in really bad shape, an online sale for that low book value, but don't worry, we can bargain. Now, you might be asking yourself, because I did a search and I looked for the amount of RAV4 Primes within 500 miles, and I think there was like 100 of them. You might think, well, they didn't really sell actually all that many Primes and they have 100 available. You might be thinking, well, maybe there's something wrong with them, but they're really not. One of the things that you need to consider is that most of the people that bought their RAV4 Primes in 2021 and 2022, most of those folks took advantage of the federal tax rebate incentive of $7,500. And I think these people probably liked the RAV4 Prime so much when the 2023 model came out. In 2023, they made a number of changes to the RAV4 Prime, mostly with the entertainment screen and some things with the seats and a couple of other things with the lighting interior. But it was pretty, it was a pretty substantial change. So I think a lot of people that bought the 2021 and 2022 with that federal tax rebate, I think a lot of those folks just basically traded their RAV4 Prime in for 2023 because it basically cost them nothing to do so when they actually traded up. And so that's why I think there's that many available, but you get to take advantage of it. Now, the next thing that we need to do is choose a search tool that we want to use to search for our RAV4 Prime. Now, I've become pretty familiar with these search tools. I've bought and sold a number of vehicles over the last couple of years. And so, yeah, they all work relatively the same. But basically, I looked at cars.com, I looked at Edmunds, I looked at Car Gurus, and I also looked at kbb.com. And for the most part, they all pull from the same database. I think the Edmunds actually had the most vehicles or the Primes available to me within 100 or within 500 miles. They actually had 100 Primes. And so, yeah, you might want to just kind of look at all of the different tools and see which ones have the most cars available to you. But they basically all pull from a similar database. Each of them have their strengths and weaknesses. You can sometimes do keyword searches on some of them. Some of them let you filter out vehicle rentals like rental cars. So they all kind of are a little bit different to have their strengths and strengths. I kind of use all of them sometimes. So sometimes I'll actually have a search created in multiple of the tools, and then I'll get daily listings of new cars that show up. But one of the things that you want to do is you want to use it smartly. And so when you do a search, you want to make sure that you have an account, that you save that search. When you find a car that you really want or that you really like, you want to make sure that you save that car so you can quickly go back and find that particular car. And then you also want to get daily updates. So have it, when it finds a car that meets the criteria that you've established, have it send you, the cars on a daily basis or, a weekly basis if you really want to. But I always like to get the fresh data. And so I can reach out to that car dealer right away. I always like to be first on the list. And so the other thing that you want to do, other than just kind of using the tool smartly, is you want to create some sort of a spreadsheet. And in this spreadsheet, you want to take notes. So for every dealer that you've contacted, put in the name of the dealer, put in where they're located, put in the name of the car, the year of the car, the odometer reading on the car, and then make notes about that particular car. And so if you saw some pictures of it and if you noticed some bad things about it, you want to make a note of that. But that lets you real quickly go back to that spreadsheet if a salesperson calls you. So I'll get a call from a salesperson about a car. I'm currently looking for a Jeep Wrangler actually. And as soon as the dealer calls me, I'll like, hold on, wait. And I'll go grab my computer and I'll look it up on the spreadsheet. And then I'll have the certain things that I'll ask the dealer. So for each dealer that contacts me, I'll always ask certain things about it. So for my Jeep, for instance, I always want to know what their reconditioning process was. How did they inspect the vehicle? What did they find on their reconditioning? And did they deny anything, for instance? Did they not do something? So that's a really good place, to kind of have your list of questions that you ask the dealer. And then as they answer those questions, just put that information down. So having a spreadsheet with all that information is very valuable. Now, I got a little bit ahead of myself when I was working on talking about the spreadsheet and suggesting that you ask the seller about the reconditioning process and make notes and stuff. But the next thing that you should do before contacting the seller is really look at the Carfax report. And so most online listings will have a Carfax associated with it. When you're looking at that Carfax, you really want to look for a couple of things. You want to look at how many owners it has. Hopefully, being this is a 2021 or 2022, it doesn't have more than one owner. But you want to make sure of that. The other thing you want to make sure of is it isn't a salvage title, so it wasn't like in a wreck. And they rebuilt it and now it's a salvage title. I would probably be concerned if it's a newer car and it actually did have a wreck, making sure that the wreck was basically cosmetic damage. I would be concerned probably with any RAV4 Prime that was in an accident though. You also want to look at the service history of the vehicle. So you want to make sure that it's got regular oil changes, just to make sure that the service was done appropriately. And then after that is all done, now you can contact the seller. And so you probably want to have a list of questions for each seller beforehand, and so you can ask those and be prepared. But as you're looking through pictures of the vehicle, something might get your interest that doesn't look quite right. And so you can ask questions about that. If there's something on that Carfax that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, you could ask the seller about the Carfax, maybe try to get a little more information. You also want to ask them about, what does the exterior look like? Is there any sort of dents? Is there any sort of scratches? How does the paint look? You want to ask them about the interior and what kind of shape the interior is in. Basically try to get as much information about the car as you can. And finally, I did talk about the recon process. That's kind of lingo that dealers use. It's reconditioning process. Basically ask them what kind of services that they did, what kind of inspection did they do on the vehicle before they are trying to sell it, and what kind of things that they fixed. So basically, you want to find out as much information about this vehicle before actually going out to look at it. So as prepared as you can be and as many questions as you ask beforehand, that will make your job easier when you actually get to the vehicle and you want to do a test drive and inspect it yourself. And so I highly recommend that you do your homework beforehand to save you time and to save you the frustration of getting out to the vehicle and finding out that it really wasn't worth your while to drive, all that way anyways. And so, yeah, do that. Now, another possible search tool that you can use is Toyota's own tool. So Toyota has a listing of used certified pre-owned vehicles. Now, these are vehicles that are only sold at Toyota dealerships, but they're all certified pre-owned. It will only let you look for vehicles within 250 miles, and so it doesn't go out quite to 500 miles or a nationwide search like some of the other online services. But if you want something that's relatively close, this might be a great tool, and you can be pretty assured that that vehicle is gonna live up to your standards. So if the vehicle that you're looking at is still under the manufacturer's 3-year and 36,000 mile warranty, you might want to consider looking into an extended warranty. Now, the RAV4 Prime, it's a great vehicle, but it's pretty complicated, especially the cooling process in the RAV4 Prime. I would look into contacting Jerry Johnson at Midwest Toyota. He's got the best prices for extended warranties that I've found. And so you could get that information beforehand. You would just need to know the VIN number of the vehicle and the mileage that it has, and he can give you a quote. Then once you have that, as you're shopping for that car and you're getting close to the final process, and they want to sell you an extended warranty, you can say, hey, what's the price? And then you could say, well, I've got another quote for the extended warranty, and perhaps they'll meet that price, and then you can just walk away with a great deal. So even though you're talking to this dealer, likely from a distance, likely through phone or email or text, now is the time, once you've got most of your questions answered, now is the time to start negotiating. So before you drive out to that dealer, wherever they're located, you really want to have your pricing and your negotiations done, including whatever the total out the door price of that vehicle is going to be. So basically, it's about being patient. I'm searching right now for a used Jeep Wrangler. And you never want to put yourself in a situation where time is not in your favor. So you don't want to feel any sort of pressure for having to purchase a vehicle in a timely manner. You want to give yourself enough time. And I'm going to talk about this in just a second, is the best times to actually buy a used vehicle. Basically, it's at the end of the month, and most people probably already know this, but I think it's still worth covering. It's the end of the month, the end of the quarter, and the end of the year. And so, yeah, if you say, well, I'm really looking to pay this amount, and actually I'm using my wife as the bad guy, I'm saying, oh man, I really love this vehicle, but my wife says I can't spend any more than this. So yeah, you make her the bad guy, basically. I say she's an accountant and she won't let me pay any more than this, and they kind of understand that. So, but basically, if they don't come to terms with your price initially, just give it a little bit of time. Just let it sit there for a couple of days, wait a week or so, and reach out to that dealer again and say, hey, I'm just circling back with you. I'm wondering if it's possible that you guys can go a little bit lower on your price. And it's amazing what time and patience, and don't be a jerk about it. Just be really nice. I actually do better when I'm on the phone with the individual as opposed to going back and forth between text. And so usually at some point, usually it gets escalated to either a salesperson, because sometimes you're initially dealing with an internet guy, the online sales guy, and then you'll get to a salesperson, and then you'll likely get to a sales manager to make some of the more bargains. And once you're on the phone with that person, don't be a jerk. Just be really nice, be friendly, try to laugh, and say, I'm just trying to do the best I can. My wife, she just won't let me pay this much. Is there anything you can do? Yeah, and that can usually get it done. So the other thing that you really want to pay close attention to when you are looking at the vehicle is how long that vehicle has been listed. And so if the vehicle has been listed for, more than a couple of weeks, likely they're having problems selling it, and they're probably going to lower the price relatively soon. And so yeah, that can also work to your favor. Now, once you've kind of came up with the proper deal, you know what the out the door price is going to be, and you're happy with it, now is the time actually to go and visit the dealership to inspect it and to test drive the vehicle. And at this time is actually where you can knock off the price even more. So when inspecting the vehicle, you really want to pay very close attention to the paint. The paint's a lot different actually nowadays. It's water-based and it scratches very easily. And so yeah, if you really just rub the paint with the wrong kind of towel, you can put scratches in it that show up pretty nastily. And so as you're going through the vehicle, you want to pay really, really close attention to the paint. And as you notice any sort of blemishes in the paint, you basically want to bring that up to the dealer and say, hey, we've got this scratch here, we've got that scratch over there. Just basically make notes of it. You don't really want to necessarily start bargaining and lowering the price there, but as you notice things, start taking notes, and then you can bring those up at the end of the negotiation process. Now, we're going to look at the paint. We're going to look at the wheels to see if there's any sort of curb rash on the wheels. So you're basically going to go around the entire exterior, basically looking for those kinds of things. You probably want to go underneath the vehicle as well. So you don't necessarily even have to have it on a lift. You can just get down kind of low and either use a selfie stick or something to take some pictures underneath. But basically, I'm going to just grab my camera and I'm going to show you what we can see underneath the vehicle. And you basically want to look for any of those underbody panels if they look like they've got some dents in them or some scratches or one of them's missing. That means it's likely hit some sort of road obstacle or road obstruction or a rock, and possibly it did some damage to that panel as well as maybe some other things underneath the vehicle. And so you could definitely use that as a bargaining chip and for something for them to take care of before you leave with the vehicle. So let's look at the underneath a little bit. Yeah, so basically I'm just doing video here and I'm just going underneath the vehicle, and yeah, you can kind of see pretty good kind of what's underneath here. And basically what we want to do is go along the entire frame just to make sure that nothing looks too unusual underneath there. And the other thing that you can do is just kind of get underneath the vehicle. You don't even need a selfie stick for this. And you can just kind of see any sort of damage that was done to the underside. And so basically, you know, kind of go through that and just make sure that everything looks correct underneath the vehicle. Now, of course, no inspection would be complete without opening up the hood of the engine and checking the, the engine. But yeah, you could check the fluid levels to make sure that they look okay. There's actually two coolants on the RAV4 Prime. So we have this coolant, which I think is for the battery. And then you have this coolant over here, which is for the engine. Then we have the brake fluid over here, which looks fine. So you can kind of open up that, you know, and make sure, you know, that brake fluid looks okay. Of course, you don't have an alternator here or any sort of pulleys for the accessories, because the RAV4 Prime basically just uses electric motors to do those things. But we still do have a dipstick. So yeah, we could go ahead and check the engine oil to make sure that looks okay. But yeah, got to open up that hood of the engine. Now, last but not least, we're going to check out the interior. And so basically, yeah, go through all the different upholstery, go through the seats, go through all the knobs, just make sure everything looks like it doesn't have any sort of damage or doesn't have basically excessive wear. And once again, if you notice anything that doesn't look quite right, make a note of it, talk to your salesperson, and hopefully you can use that as a bargaining chip later on. Now, the last part is the best part, and that's the test drive. Now, because the availability of the Primes is not all that great, when you go out to actually do your inspection and do your test drive, this actually might be the first opportunity that you have to be in a Prime. And so you really want to pay close attention to how it feels like, and just to make sure that, you know, the RAV4 Prime is for you, because it's a little different from just a regular vehicle. You know, you do have the EV mode, which is great. You do have the hybrid mode, but you do have the CVT, and so it does make a little bit of noise when you're going up hills, especially in hybrid mode. So you want to pay attention to that. And so what we want to do is make sure that we try out all the different drive modes. And so basically your drive mode selector is right here. And so I can turn it onto eco mode there, it turns green. I can do normal mode by pushing it, and then I can push it or rotate it to the right to go into sport mode. And so that's kind of the fast mode. Then I can also put it in auto EV mode, which basically it'll turn on the gas engine when you want it to, you know, to be able to go faster. So that's the auto EV mode. And you can see that right there where it says auto EV. I can go back into EV mode just by hitting that button again. And now I'm in EV mode, sport. And finally, if I want to go to hybrid mode, I can just hit the hybrid button. And if you notice, it goes into the hybrid mode. And finally, I can actually put it in charge mode. So I can hold that down and you'll hear the engine kick on as you do that. So now we're in charge mode and you can hear the engine did kick on. So let's go ahead and take a test drive and I'll get started. And right now we are in charge mode, so you can kind of hear that engine running. Now, if you put it in charge mode and you go up a little bit of a hill, you'll kind of hear what that CVT transmission and what that 4-cylinder engine really sounds like. And if it bothers you, then at that point, maybe the RAV4 Prime isn't for you. But it's certainly something that you should test. So I am going to put it back in EV mode. And basically that engine turns off and now you're in basically electric mode. And this is by far the best mode. I really like it. It's so nice and quiet. Now what you're going to want to feel is you're going to want to feel the suspension. You're going to want to do some city driving as well as some highway driving. The suspension, the tune of it is soft basically. A lot softer probably than the RAV4 hybrid and the regular RAV4. But I really like it. It's basically a great highway cruiser. The other thing that you're going to want to do when you're feeling that suspension is you're going to want to do some braking. Go ahead and hit the brakes just to see what those feel like, making sure that there isn't somebody behind you as you brake unexpectedly. But you want to feel the brakes out just to make sure that the brakes are all there. The other thing that you want to do is just check the steering. Make sure that the steering tracks straight. I think I probably got to go get my tires balanced a little bit because initially when I first got the vehicle, it was tracking super straight. But now it's kind of tending to pull, I think, a little bit left. And so you want to check that out. And then if it does need an alignment or if it needs a tire balancing, you can get that done before you actually drive off with it. Now, the RAV4 Prime, it's pretty quiet, but it's not super quiet. So once again, this is something that you need to figure out for yourself. Make sure you take it on the freeway, 70, 75, 80 miles an hour. Make sure you listen to what it sounds like, and if that's going to bother you at all, just a little bit of wind noise and the road noise. They did some things to make the RAV4 Prime quieter. They put some acoustic glass in place, so it does make the driving experience a lot quieter, but this is not a super luxurious vehicle, even though it kind of sort of feels like it, but it's not super quiet like a Lexus or a Volvo or any of those kind of luxury cars. But make sure you spend a good amount of time test driving it. I would give it, at least probably a half an hour or so of basically driving it around, just to get a feel for the car and if you really like it. But yeah, I totally just love the way this thing drives, yeah, so happy with it. And we put a lot of mileage on this thing. I think we have what do we have, 41,000 miles on the car, and it still drives, other than the alignment thing I was talking about, it still drives just like it's brand new. And it's super fun. Once again, this isn't a sports car though, so don't expect that you can take the twisty turns, like a Porsche or even like one of the more sportier Lexuses. So the steering is just a little bit numb. The suspension is more for comfort, so don't expect it to be a sports car, but it can accelerate like crazy. And so yeah, if you go ahead and do also a little acceleration run just to have a little fun with it. So I really hope this video was helpful, and if it was, please like it, and also consider subscribing to my channel. I do a whole lot of content on the RAV4 Prime, and so if you're interested in getting a Prime, you might want to check out my channel and some of the videos I have. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video again very soon.